I find it absolutely interesting, the state of the gaming industry right now. It's not about what you create, it's about if you speak the speech, right? So if Grummz would go around social media and talk about how much he dislikes white men and how oppressed he feels in modern day America, game journalists would salivate over him. Studios would try to hire him as a community manager, best man for the job. But because he doesn't do that, and unfortunately he just happened to make a good game like World of Warcraft, the industry insiders don't like him. They don't like him. It would make all their other employees look like shit. It would make them look talentless. And, you know, how dare you not dislike the white male gamer? What is wrong with you? Why don't you dislike him? What do you mean you just want to make video games? Horrible. So, you know, as it happens, the gamers do like him. He's been going around on YouTube nowadays and is talking about the gaming industry, and a lot of people love having him on stream. He's very insightful. But now he's got a plan, right? Like, he's talking about how they're destroying our games. And it's true. Like, if you look at 4 years ago, you look at Batman Arkham City, for instance, it's a video game that required less developers to make. It costs less. At the time, I think it was like $60 in order to play it. Didn't have any of the nonsense like buy the deluxe edition and play 3 days early. The story was better. The gameplay was better. And, you know, I would say that besides the graphics, which were limited by the technology at the time, it's overall a better game than Suicide Squad or Gotham Knights, which costs double the amount, required more people to create, and besides the graphics, it's an inferior product. So yeah, like, Grummz has a point. They are destroying our games. And it's industry standard. It's industry-wide. It's not with just one game. So his plan in order to fix it is by pointing out that AAA games are overrun with woke politics, lousy live service where it doesn't belong, $130 Ubisoft quadruple A games, the Manjaw industrial complex being forced into the video games with no reason. And there are two main causes for this: the ESG funding and a fleet of activist developers. So what he is saying is that the ESG funding is drying up. His CEO and studio head sources tell him that games have to make real money now, and they can't be propped up by DE funds forever, and that this is the time to strike. So he's calling for a boycott for the next 2 years on buying video games from woke AAA studios. And he believes that by doing so, it's going to cause the studios to start firing people. And in his opinion, they're going to actually fire the woke activists because the woke activists usually do not have the talent. They get into the industry through nepotism. They get into the industry through the back doors. So if we can just hold on from not buying for 2 years, a lot of these people are going to get fired. And he compares this with Elon Musk's Twitter, where Elon Musk fired 80% of the staff, or some of them even quit without getting fired, and Twitter is functioning properly without any hurdle. So basically, he is suggesting that people just play their old games on Steam. Most of us do actually have games on Steam that we've never played, so now is the time to play them. He also suggests buying AA games like Helldivers or The Coffin of Ashley and Lele. So what do I think about his plan? I have never seen gamers successfully boycott a game out of a principle, but luck has it that it's on our side. The AAA games that are coming out right now are genuinely shit, and people just don't buy them because they're shit products. On the other hand, you actually do have AA games that are coming out. Path of Exile is one of them. There's also Helldivers and many other interesting titles that are coming out. So the boycott will happen by itself. I don't think that it needs any enforcement. I saw when the left tries to boycott, like they boycotted the Hogwarts game and they went out of their way to harass streamers, and they went out of their way to ostracize people that were playing the game, and it just didn't work. Again, like when it comes to the right, I do not believe that boycotts can be successful. However, this is something that's just happening naturally. Like people are looking at Star Wars Outlaws, and they're generally not interested in it. And a culture has formed in order to mock and ridicule these games. woke games have become toxic. Like, the brand itself has become toxic, especially with Sweet Baby. And while you're not going to get like 80% of the players not buying it, it is a chunk of players sufficient enough to actually cause financial damage. And again, like this just exists. It's not about Grummz. It's not about what he is saying. Like, this just happening naturally. So I do think that Grummz is just trying to accelerate this a little bit. Unfortunately, however, when it comes to firing, the people that aren't pulling their weight, I don't see this happening. Because I've noticed what is taking place in the American comic book industry. And instead of firing the people that are the activists, they actually fired the muscle. They actually fired the competent writers and the competent artists from the comic book industry, and they decided to keep the activists. And there are several reasons for it. It's usually due to nepotism. It's probably due to the fact that they don't want lawsuits and other issues. Because most of the activists, they hide behind gender, sexuality, race, and if they get fired, they will say, it's because you're discriminating against me. And most companies realize that going with these lawsuits is oftentimes more costly than just selling. So there are reasons for it, but again, I do not think that they're going to fire the activists. I do think that they will fire the actual talent. Which, in and of itself, I don't find it as a problem. I do think that AAA gaming should die. Unironically, I don't understand why do we need to, bow down to Ubisoft and EA Games and Blizzard as if they're the only companies that are making games. There are AA companies, and I want to remind people that The Witcher started as pretty much like a Neverwinter type mod. I think they used the Neverwinter engine in order to make Witcher 1, so it was a very small dedicated studio which created a really good game that people liked and they paid money for. So then they created Witcher 2, which was more ambitious, and finally it peaked with Witcher 3, which is one of the best games ever made. So basically, by spending money on AA games, you can actually help them expand and create better games in the future. You can plant the seeds for the future. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous was a good example. I don't know if they're not going woke, because I was a little bit concerned with the Warhammer 40k. I don't think it has the same talent and the same passion like Path of the Righteous did. But, it remains to be seen. It's definitely not as cancerous as Ubisoft's AAA titles. So we're going to see about that. But my point is, there are a lot of AA titles that are coming, and they're really good. And supporting them is actually more important than, whether or not you're playing a AAA game. I do believe that, if you can choose not to play a AAA game for the next 2 years, you should definitely do so. However, what you should definitely also do is to buy AA games. If there's a AA game that you enjoy, if you like, give them your support. And most importantly, use word of mouth in order to promote them. Because the game journalists are not promoting AA games. So if you're an indie developer, it is very difficult to get your game across, to even make people aware that your game exists. So if you actually find a video game that you like, then promote it. Total Biscuit used to have WTF is, and he would just talk about indie games and promote them. And unfortunately, we don't have something like that anymore. And I hope one content creator is going to eventually pick it up, because the game journalists aren't doing their job. And this is what they should actually be doing. They should look at the gaming industry as a whole, not just AAA, and tell people, hey, this is a really nice game. You should try it. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.